Coming up today, a controversial revision to the National Assembly Act will likely be scrapped, as the ruling party says it will not take part in today's revote out of respect for President Park Geun-hye's decision to veto the bill. Voters in Greece overwhelmingly reject tough austerity terms set by international creditors by voting no in a crunch referendum on the country's debt deal. Plus, in a major diplomatic victory for Korea, Japan is forced to acknowledge the use of Korean slave labourers at industrial sites that have been bestowed UNESCO World Heritage status. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 6th of July. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Broome. We start at Korea's National Assembly, where lawmakers from the opposition side, at least, are set to hold another vote on a vetoed revision of the parliamentary law. The revision, however, will almost certainly be scrapped, as the ruling party has made clear that it will not be casting any ballots. For more, we connect to our National Assembly correspondent Park Ji-won. Ji-won.
Good afternoon, Mark. As you mentioned, the vetoed revision of the National Assembly Act, which allows the Assembly to make requests to executive ordinances not in accordance with the related law, is up for a revote this Monday afternoon. The ruling Saenuri Party, which holds a parliamentary majority, has stressed that it will not be voting, a move that effectively scraps the bill. But that's because under the Constitution, any revote on the vetoed bill requires the attendance of more than two-thirds of all lawmakers. The ruling Saenuri Party's leader Kim Moo-sung confirmed the decision, saying the ruling party and the presidential office are united and the controversies surrounding the bill will be stuffed out today. He says his party will focus on the July Assembly session, which starts on this Wednesday, to pass a multi-billion-dollar supplementary budget and other bills aimed at improving the economy. However, the leader of the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy, Moon Jae-in, has once again urged the ruling party to change its mind and participate in the vote.
Well, it seems unlikely that the ruling party will change its mind now, considering Kim Moo-sung's comments today. And Ji-won, looking at another area of heated debate at the Assembly, ruling party lawmakers loyal to President Park, they've been pressing the party's embattled floor leader, Yoo Seung-min, to resign and have given him until the end of today to go. What's expected to happen there?
Well, ever since President Park criticized the floor leader's role in the now vetoed parliamentary law late last month, he has been under constant pressure to step down. However, Yoo Seung-min has stuck around and continuing on with his regular duties. He still has the support of a sizable number of Saenuri lawmakers, and the polls have shown that the public thinks he should stay on as well. Well, so all we have now is speculation, something that he will stay on, while others believe he will wait until the July extraordinary session is over before stepping down. But no one knows for sure. Well, as we mentioned, today is the deadline that pro-President Park figures have set for him to resign. And if he doesn't go, the current internal strife within the party is likely to get worse. And I will be bringing you more updates and about the revote and any developments on Yoo Seung-min in our later newscast. This has been Park Ji-won reporting from the National Assembly in Seoul. Back to you.
Now, to the massive news out of Europe that's expected to have ripple effects around the world. Greece has entered uncharted territory after more than 61% of voters on Sunday rejected demands by international creditors for more austerity in exchange for a bailout of its bankrupt economy. Sun Jung-in reports.
It was a high-risk gamble that Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras took with the future of his country, but in the end, it was a decisive win. The margin of victory was far wider than expected, an indication that many indecisive voters may have been convinced by Tsipras' claim that a no vote would help the country secure a better deal from its international creditors after months of wrangling. After the results were announced, the Greek government said it would try to restart talks with its European partners and reach a conclusion within 48 hours. Time has run out for Greece, which is dealing with an economy in a protracted recession with high unemployment and banks dangerously low on capital. The international bailout, under which it received nearly 240 billion euros in rescue loans, expired last week. On the same day, Greece defaulted on an International Monetary Fund repayment, becoming the first developed nation to do so. Greece's fate could be decided at a Eurozone summit set to be held on Tuesday. Some analysts say Greece could be forced to switch back to its old currency, the drachma. 손정인, Arirang News.
And Asian stocks opened lower on Monday following the no vote in Greece's referendum. Korea's benchmark Kospi is currently down around 1.2% from Friday's close. To counter the uncertainty, senior officials from numerous financial organizations here in Korea met this morning to draw up a contingency plan. Shin Se-min reports.
Korean economic and financial policymakers put their heads together to discuss the latest developments in the financial markets as Greek voters said no to the Eurozone's austerity measures in a high-profile referendum. Senior officials, including Vice Finance Minister Chu Young-hwan and the BOK Senior Deputy Governor, discussed a possible contingency plan to prepare for the impact the Greek vote will have on the local financial market. They concluded that the situation in Greece should be closely monitored as economic, political, and social matters within the Eurozone could be affected. The Finance Ministry added that they will consider the likelihood of a shaky global financial market following the uncertainties in Europe and said Korea will take aggressive measures to protect the local market. Officials, however, said the Korean market is not completely immune to the potential Grexit, as many European banks may withdraw their money from Korea amid continued uncertainties in Europe. The result of the referendum is not expected to have a direct impact on the Korean economy, as Korea's exposure to Greece is minimal. The Financial Supervisory Service says the dealings with the troubled European nation by local banks and non-bank institutions only account for 1.3% of the total overseas lending. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the hospital that confirmed Korea's first MERS patient has reopened to the public 38 days after going on lockdown as a precaution against the outbreak. Pyeongtaek St. Mary's Hospital is functioning as normal as of this Monday. Officials say they have taken measures to ensure the hospital is safe and ready to admit new patients. Health authorities cleared the hospital to resume operations last month, but the hospital's management voluntarily delayed the reopening until today. The hospital says it has disinfected the building and installed kind of outdoor clinics to stop patients with infectious diseases from coming in. It has also upgraded its wards by converting rooms that used to hold up to 7 people into rooms with a maximum capacity of 4. Around 270 of the hospital's medical staff have been placed under home isolation since the outbreak, but were all released by June 13th. The economic impact of the MERS outbreak is feared to reverberate into the third quarter of this year, further dimming prospects for Korean companies. According to sources in the financial investment industry, including data provider WiseFN, the projected third quarter earnings of 117 listed companies, with forecasts from at least 3 securities firms, was $25.8 billion. That's down 6.3% from the end of May. Korea's leisure and travel industries are set to shrink by 12.4% in the third quarter, while health-related companies are poised to gain 5.4%. Almost 1 in 2 Korean corporations cut jobs last year, according to local conglomerate tracker Chaebol.com. Among the top 30 firms by assets, excluding public companies, 14 reduced their workforce. The cutbacks came amid a slowing economy as well as management crises at some firms. However, Samsung Group and Hyundai Motor Group were among the companies to add jobs. So overall, the top 30 companies combined saw a 0.6% rise in the number of workers. The government has been calling on the financial industry and conglomerates to increase employment to revitalise the economy and tackle youth unemployment. Two local companies have topped the ratings list for next-generation batteries, known as energy storage systems, considered a major potential growth engine for Korea in the years to come. Global market researcher Navigant Research says Korea's largest chemical company, LG Chem, topped the list with a score of 84, with energy solutions provider Samsung SDI following very closely behind at 83.5. Now, these evaluations are based on factors such as production strategy, system integration, marketing, and price competitiveness. Now, following months of negotiations, Korea and Japan have reached an agreement on Tokyo's bid to list some of its wartime industrial facilities as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Tokyo does have some obligations to meet, and officials in Seoul are hopeful this development could lead to an improvement in Korea-Japan relations. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
The World Heritage Committee listed Tokyo's wartime industrial facilities as UNESCO sites at its 39th session in Bonn, Germany on Sunday. The listing, which follows months of negotiations between Korea and Japan, comes with a set of preconditions. Japan said it will take steps to make it known that a large number of Koreans and others were forced to work under harsh conditions in the 1940s, and to ensure the victims are remembered, such as by establishing information centers at each site. Korean Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se welcomed the outcome.
First, we maintained our principle and position that the historical truth must be reflected. Second, we avoided confrontation with Japan during the process and resolved the matter through dialogue.
Japan's 23 industrial sites include 7 coal mines and shipyards where nearly 60,000 Koreans were forced into labor in the 1940s during its colonial rule of Korea. Tokyo had initially marked them as being operational from 1850 to 1910. Japan is expected to follow up on its plans by submitting a progress report to the World Heritage Center by December 2017, which will be reviewed at the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee in 2018. If Japan's progress is deemed unsatisfactory, the sites could be removed from the UNESCO list. With Seoul and Tokyo mired in disputes over history, officials at Seoul's foreign ministry expressed the hope that the agreement on Japan's UNESCO bid will break the ice between the two neighbors and generate momentum for their future relations. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, following UNESCO's recognition of Japan's wartime industrial facilities as World Heritage Sites, China has voiced its concern about the move, demanding a clear account of their historical background. Officials from the Chinese delegation who are taking part in the ongoing meeting of the World Heritage Committee in the German city of Bonn released a statement after the committee's decision to include the facilities on the UNESCO list. The statement said that although Japan acknowledged the use of forced labor from Korea and other countries in the 1940s, it still fails to provide sufficient information on the issue. The Chinese delegation urged Japan to face up to history and take concrete action to give general historical facts about the facilities as recommended by the Committee on Monuments and Sites and the World Heritage Committee. Another Korean victim of Japan's system of wartime sex slavery has passed away. According to a support group for the former sex slaves, Choi Gum-son died at a hospital in Gyeonggi-do province on Sunday night. She was 90 years old and died of old age. Over the past few weeks alone, 4 victims have died. The number of known survivors has now dropped to 48 out of a total of 238 registered Korean victims. Historians estimate more than 200,000 women, mostly Koreans, were forced to serve Japanese troops during Japan's colonial rule of Korea in the early 1900s. Now, Seoul has been demanding Tokyo sincerely apologize to and compensate the victims. So far, Japan has refused, saying the issue was settled more than 50 years ago. Now, in lighter news, and Korean athletes taking part at this year's Gwangju Universiade have gotten off to a flying start with 4 gold medals in the bag already. Now, Team Korea is currently only trailing China and Japan in the medal standings. And for a deeper look at Korea's prospects in the next few days, our Kim Hyun-bin reports from Gwangju.
Games have begun for the 2015 Gwangju Summer Universiade. Some 13,000 athletes from 149 countries are here to compete for the 272 gold medals up for grabs. Team Korea has sent its largest delegation ever, with 516 athletes and officials, partaking in all 21 sporting categories.
With the country's support and that of local residents, we'll do our utmost to win as much as we can.
Unfortunately for Korea, the nation's reigning Olympic champion gymnast Yang Hak-sun had to withdraw from the Universiade through injury over the weekend after he pulled out of the floor exercise during the men's team event. Yang has been struggling with the same hamstring injury, which caused him to settle for silver at last year's Asian Games. Korea has done fairly well in past Universiades, coming third overall in 2003 and 2011, and fourth overall in the last Universiade held in the Russian city of Kazan in 2013. With the home crowd behind them, Team Korea is aiming to win 25 gold medals this year and seal a third spot in the medal table. Team Korea must beat their arch rival Japan in the medal standings to have a chance of finishing third overall. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News, Gwangju.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a wonderful day and thank you, as always, for tuning in. And we do hope to see you at the same time tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.